Hi students, can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are able to see the screen? Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are able to see the screen? Why in the chat box is fine. Yeah, yeah. So students, I believe it is visible in the screen. So today let's do our practice mock students, and Saturday I will give you a full mock which will be timed, and you can take your time and do it, and I will mark your answers also and give your feedback as well. So students, can I get a Y in the chat box if you can see the screen? Can I get a Y in the chat box as a confirmation from your end? I'm assuming as per my system it is showing the screen is visible. Thank you. Okay, so students, let's start with this. So in the previous class, can you remember, students, we effectively studied the section of technical reference. That is the accounting standards we were studying. Now, in today's class, we are effectively going to study about the business application also. Now, one thing every student should keep in mind, this question is always tested in the examination. That is the business models. Now, the biggest mistake students do in the examination is they ignore the present material business model and they write the answer from a pure technical aspect for this question. Now, I told you now you are a manager. So, as a manager, you have to understand how the things are effectively working. So, students, let's start analyzing this step by step. So, shall we start working on this? Of course, we can start working on this. Now, again, I am repeating this because these four headings are very important. And you need not repeat the sentences in the examination, but you have to integrate it into a proper order. Now, you observe here defining value. FlattHall provides safe and attractive accommodation for students. So understand it very well. The target audience here is whom students. And its properties are purpose built for student market. Understand it very well. The target audience is student market. Students who rent room in FlattHall buildings are able to study in a relaxed environment. So students, can I observe here? So can I write down one perspective that is target audience? Can I write down here, students? Target audience. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students? If you're okay with this, can I write down target audience? And can I effectively use the term students? Target audience is whom? Students. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students? Just a confirmation point. Whether are you able to hear my communication? Just a Y is sufficient in the chat box, students. Can I get a Y if possible? I'm assuming it's getting recorded also, but can I get a Y? Thank you, Petronella. Thank you. So students, observe it clearly so that you are understanding this correctly. So the target audience is students. Now you have to think like a manager in the exam. There can be other point of view. So you have to connect it towards the business defining value. Now, example, students, in the past, we studied something called mission, vision, objectives. But nowadays, we are more concerned about how we can satisfy the needs of the customer by creating a value to them. So the creation of value is FlattHall is a proactive in identifying potential sites. So what they do is they identify potential sites and new properties and in addressing locations in which demand for students accommodation is not met. So this is their target. The company has a considerable expertise in acquisition of suitable sites and construction of good quality building. So in this case, students, they are targeting, in other words, how they create building is a student convenient location. They focus on student convenient location. Student convenient location. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students, if you are again clear with this? Student convenient location. And I told you this is always depending on the university also, because if the university completion rates are poor, again, you will have a big issue with this also. Thank you. Thank you very much, students. Now, slowly, let's come to the delivery. Now, you have designed your product, you have understood the need. Now, you have to make the product reach. Delivery is reach. How the products goes to the hands of the consumer, the supply. FlattHall develops strong relationship that underpins commercial success. The company works closely with college and university accommodation services to ensure that they are willing to recommend FlattHall to students in the accommodations. A large proportion of FlattHall residents return in subsequent year of study and recommend FlattHalls to friends. So in this case, one thing effectively is a referral system. They have a referral system. That means university also refer them, students also refer them. So one of their success is referral system. And technically speaking, referral system may be the ideal way of promoting in this sector, because students at the end of the day, you may have the best building, but still students want one thing, convenience to their university. The next one, capturing residual value. Here only students, we come to the profit area. Now, finally, after we create value, we have to design a model which will also give us profitability, money. Because students, if you observe all these organizations like Facebook, now you see, we as consumers, we use Facebook, everything thinking it is free, it is free. But at the end of the day, they effectively captured their value, not using consumers, using consumers' content. So can I get a Y in the chat box, students, if you understood the capturing value? Now, the technical chartered accountant will go with costing first. And after they do the costing only, they will go to the market. But if you observe the business model of value is identify whether the market is satisfied with your product, and is your product is a product that is relevant for them. And once it is relevant for them, you can easily capture the value and they will be paying you also for that. Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students, if you got that clarity on capturing the value? Because if you are a technical person, you do the calculation first. But in business, we don't go with the calculation immediately. We go with the valuations immediately, how it goes to the market. Students are prepared to pay a realistic rent for the accommodation in FlattHall properties because their rooms are well proportioned and comfortable, and they are provided with all facilities they require to support their studies and social activities. Now, one thing can I write down here? It is single room. Can I just mention here? One thing in this case is single room. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students? And the other thing is, if you analyze the case study properly, out of the three product segments, the most expensive segment is PBSA. That means our segment. But although it is expensive, we are giving them additional facilities which the other two are not providing. So can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are fine with this? Because this is very, 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 very important. This is very, very important. And students, you have to understand this properly. So I believe everyone has got the clarity of this well. Now, students, can we go to the question? Can I get a Y in the chat box if you are able to see the question too? Because initially I'm giving you the practice. Initially, I'm giving you the functions of what you have to do in the exam. Once you get into the practice, you have to get the habits. And once you are in the habit, technically you will itself find everything. So students, Pasan Fernando has sent you the following mail. Since there is a high level of growth in the PBSA model, we are planning to make sure that we are able to have a better understanding of the following. What is the management is planning to make sure that we build residences targeting working professionals in Towland? Now, you observe here, the business model, you have to be very careful because targeting whom? Working professional in Towland. Therefore, this may give a better understanding of how this model will be inclined to the current business model of FlattHall. Please be kind enough to refer the reference material also. I'll come to that. Now, students, when you see these working professionals, you have to understand it is a little bit different to the current business model. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students? Can I quickly get a Y in the chat box? Now, a question like this, you have to be very much aware that you write technical theories again and again and again, you won't score marks. A business model question will effectively be concerned with the application of the knowledge towards the business. Now, let's come to this. Explain the implication of business of FlattHall to this proposal, which is how many percent? 60%. The second one is explain the challenges associated with determining the cash flow for this project. So students, now cash flow also, it's not the operational level way of thinking. Here you have to be a little bit business oriented thinking in this question. Because the first question we did was purely technical, and it's very easy to distinguish. Because when you see the business verb itself, you understand you have to be commercial. When you see things like accounting implication, accounting itself, you can understand it is more towards a technical understanding. Now, let's go through the reference material. The management has understood that there are more challenges associated with the PBSA model, since there are more compliances rising up, correct? Because can you remember, one of the compliances is students only must stay, trees in knowledge. And another compliance is completion rate of the universities and colleges are getting monitored. And due to the development of distance learning, the students are not visiting residential courses as well, as there are some of the buildings with less occupancy, but we are not able to make sure that we can provide someone else, since as per the regulation, only students can occupy these properties. Now, students, do you understand this is the biggest business risk we are facing? Can I quickly get a double Y in the chat box? Because we do not have a substitutional factor in this business. Correct, no students? No substitutional factor. Students means students only. So this is a business risk actually. Therefore, in this situation, we have to make sure that we are planning for a development of a new business model where we are planning to rent out the working professional nearby the central city as well. Therefore, in that case, it will be very much easier as well. And since this is a business different model, we need to make sure the cash flow forecast is planned well. We have to understand the challenges associated in estimating the cash flow in the case of planning, the case of planning to the work of this model. So students, now we have understood it clearly. That is, we are going to build a building, but we are not going to target the students as we usually do. So the impact to the business model. It's a business model implication where we have to structureize our process. And the cash flow associated with this business model is little different also. So students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are clear with this understanding of the question? Can I get a double Y in the chat box? Because initially you have to understand the core of the question. What is the question asking? What is the question asking? That is what is needed. So the mock 2, I'm going to write down the heading, implication to the current business model. Implication to the current business model when shifting the customers from students to working professionals. So students, this is my heading, but you understood one thing, this is more connected to the case study. This is more connected to the case study. And then students, cash flow challenges associated in this business model. So students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? Are you okay with this? Are you okay with this? Because headings are important. And in the last class also I mentioned, better to structurize your answers based on the heading. So I will again teach you planning so that it is important. Don't need to write planning in your examination. You can do the planning inside your mind also. That is more than enough. With practice, you will get that stability. Now 60%. So 6 headings must be there. So I told you students, again, 6 is a standard. So I'll write down here 60% means 6 headings. But again, it is maximum 6 headings. Minimum, it can go for 4. So I'll just put that also so that it is very clear. 6 heading is the maximum. Why I am telling you students, time is important in the examination. So if you see the cash flow model, again, students, I will write down 40%. So 40% means four headings only maximum in this case. So can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? If you are clear with this, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are clear with this, because this is very, very important. Now I have to teach you the shortcut also. Now in the examination, students, the shortcut for a business model question is very easy. Why? The headings are directly from the model. Now how many headings are there? Defining, creating, delivering, capturing. So if you can design your answer based on these four headings, you are effectively sorted with your thinking. Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students? Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students? If you are clear with these four major headings, can I get a double Y? So this is the exam trick. You can use that. And students, if you observe, so I'll write down here, business model of FlattHall. That I will write down here, a basic introduction. Generally, introduction is not needed, but just to make sure the answer is examiner friendly, I'll just write it down. And then students, defining value, I'll write down for FlattHall, defining value for FlattHall. And I will teach you also how you can minimize repeating the same thing again in the examination. And after defining value, then I'll write down here, students, creating value, because creating value is also an important thing in students' FlattHall. And then students, what I will slowly continue writing is delivering the value, because delivering value is also important in students. I'll write down here, delivering value for FlattHall, delivering value for FlattHall. Even that is done. And then students, I'll write down here, capturing residual value. What I'm going to write down here, students, capturing residual value. Capturing residual value for what, students? FlattHall. So students, can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are fine with this? Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are fine? And this question, you can save a lot of time. This question, anyone can save a lot of time. Easily, you can get a very good results in this question. So shall we write down the answer? Yes, we can write down the answer. The business model of FlattHall is a rental income earning model based on accommodation, and this business is effectively targeting the student population exclusively. Look at the verb I am using, students, exclusively. So I will put a comma. The current business model to target working professionals may have the following implication to the business model. May have the following implication to the business model. May have the following implication to the business model. So students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are okay with the introduction? Do you see I did not go here and there? I just went to the question and I went directly into what is meant for the director, because I'm writing this to my CEO and I have to make sure the answer is crispy to him rather than dragging the answers. Can I write down here, defining the value? The business of FlattHall, the business of FlattHall is effectively focusing on student base only. So can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are clear with that? It is only focusing on the student base only, and there is a high level of student base as a target, and positioning as well. and positioning as well. Positioning as well. Positioning as well. Agree? I believe everyone is very, very clear. Now I will connect it to our business application. The current challenge can be, how are we going to target working professional? How are we going to target working professional students? That is the biggest challenge. And are we going to go with the same brand of FlattHall, with the same brand of FlattHall, or a different brand, or a different brand under the parent entity FlattHall, under the parent entity FlattHall, to avoid confusion, to avoid confusions. Now I am not giving a recommendation. I am just giving a suggestion. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students? If you are understanding this perspective, can I quickly get a Y in the chat box, students? Are you clear with this defining value for the FlattHall? Excellent, excellent. Thank you, thank you. Now, students, understand it. The answer is going very much towards this. Students, one more thing, I will just write it down. This is a little bit of intelligent understanding. Another factor, students, another factor to be considered, can be whether the working professionals will be satisfied with the current facilities we provide to the students, with the current facilities we provide to the students. Now that is also one more question. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? Because if you observe the students, they are very much concerned about what? They are very much concerned about their relaxed environment for studying purpose. But these professionals, more than studying, they may have other purpose also, no, students, like work from home, work from room, whether their room has that capacity to give that option. We can think all those things in your answers, but are you getting the clarity on how your answers should be updated? Can I get a Y in the chat box, students? How your answers should be updated? Can I quickly get a Y in the chat box? Now see, this will change. This will change. Now, in this case study, the answer looks for a working professional. But in the exam day, there can be any other factors also. So, creating value for FlattHall. So, I'm going to consider the next one, creating value. Currently, the value for PBSA business model is based on location convenience, where the students can visit their universities, within how many minutes, students? 20 minutes, correct? So this is a small critical success factor they effectively have. Now, students, if you come to working professionals, I will write it down again. Now, I'll just write down here. Similarly, the working professionals may also prefer something close by to their offices. And one more factor can be car park facilities. Can I write down here car park facilities? Can I get that clearly? Because students, working professionals anyway may need a car park facilities. Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students? Now here your brain needs to be hybrid thinking. Your brain is thinking here. But if you observe the question, what you did in the last class, your brain is recalling knowledge. Here, your brain is very much commercially thinking, car park facilities. Plus, can there be other factors like shopping malls for their groceries, their groceries also. Correct, no, students? Because that is very, very, very important, groceries. And finally, another factor to be considered is there any entertainment as well, and the rules needs to be flexible. The rules needs to be what, students? Rules needs to be liberal. I can use the term liberal, considering the students facilities as well. And since the working professionals have an income, their expectations can be different as well. Such as attached bathroom. Attached what, students? Attached bathroom. Students, currently do we have attached bathroom? No. Attached bathroom as well, since they have to depart to office on time. I believe everyone has got this clarity. Thank you. Thank you. So students, can I write down attached bathroom? Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? Now, you observe our flow area. This flow area is very important. Students, do we have attached bathroom or we have common bathroom? We have common bathroom, right? Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students? Working professionals, I don't think common bathroom will satisfy their need. The reason behind that means it will affect their flow. Correct? Can I get a double Y in the chat box there? So that is one more factor. Now, the next one is delivering value. Now, in this case, we have to be very different because university tab should go up with corporate tab. So I can write down here the university business tie-ups can effectively be transformed to corporate tabs. Transforms to what, students? Corporate tabs. Students, can I get a Y in the chat box, students, if you are understanding this point of view of corporate tabs, where companies can recommend our accommodation. Companies can recommend our accommodation. Can that happen? Of course it happens. And also we can have very close referral contracts with local real estate brokers. Correct, no, students? Can I get that also? Because if you have been a working professional going to a new cities, these brokers play a critical role. Also, internet and social media can be one more factor. As well. So can I get again a Y in the chat box, students? Are you understanding this perspective properly? Can I get a Y in the chat box, students? Are you clear with this at the moment? Are you clear with this, students? So this is one important thing that you have to keep in mind. Further, another factor to be considered. Can be value for money, and also the target working class. Example, are they IT professionals? Or engineers, like that, students? Can I get a confirmation again from the chat box? Because students, this will be a better option, right? Can I get that point of view? Because this is very, very important factor. And then capturing residual value. So I'll write down here, since the working professionals have a stable income, they can afford to pay a higher rent compared with students. But the challenge associated will be the internal structure needs to be updated as well. Since attached bathroom is an important factor. Students, this is true. Attached bathroom is an important factor. If you are going to target a niche crowd, it's an important factor. And also, parking space is important as well. Important as well. And silence and professional conduct is important. Students, I believe this is giving you a very, very clear picture of how this business sector is functioning. Also, we can make sure we have internal controls like a company letter needed for accommodation. Correct? A company letter needed for accommodation and a deposit and a deposit and a deposit to prevent bad debts, to mitigate bad debts. And students, I will connect one more thing from the pre-scene material. Now, students, can you remember there was an article with regards to this wall? Can you remember this, students? Walls can be used to remodel. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students? You can remove the walls and make sure the partition is done. Can I get that point? Now this you can connect it. So I'll write down here. In future, in new business agreements, in our new business developments, we can use removable walls with soundproof, so that we can adjust according to the needs of the tenants, according to the needs of the tenants. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students, if you get the clarity of this answer? Do you see last class answer and this class answer? There is a huge day variation. Now your examination will be a mix of both the type of question, and distinguishing is easy, students, because you can easily identify using the key terms what they are using. Thank you. Now the cash flow challenges associated with this business model. Now, students, if you observe the cash flow challenges associated with this business model, depends on two things. So the first thing I will write down here, students, fixed employment contract versus variable employment contract. Students, does it make sense? Yes or no? Because certain employees are on a fixed employment contract. So you can predict their income easily. And there will be another certain amount of people who are on a variable employment contract. That means anytime they can leave. Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students, if you are able to think in this perspective? Because fixed employment contract, easy to predict the cash flows. Variable employment contract, challenges comes into the picture. So I'll write down here. Revenues will be all 12 months of the year, or will there be no gaps? Actually, it will be on a monthly basis, something like that. It depends. Because it's a very, very bigger challenge, because we have to ensure we collect the deposit. And once we collect the deposit, they have to pay it on a monthly basis. And then before they vacate, they have to inform us at least 1 month in advance. Are you understanding this model? Because this is not a house. This is a employment, this is a recommendation for working professional. Thank you for that question. Excellent. So students, let's focus on this. The biggest challenge can be distinguishing between the fixed employment contract and variable employment contract. In the fixed employment contract, the working professionals may continue their stay for annual periods or semi-annual, where the cash flow can be forecasted. However, the biggest challenge associated can be with the variable employment contract, where they can vacate once their work is over. In that case, we have to understand how the business functions. In that perspective, we have to make sure that the company will be able to have a better understanding as well. Are you understanding that? Since we have to prevent bad debts, and also we can have deposits as well. Full stop. The next one, can I write down? Repair and maintenance cost. Repair and maintenance cost. Now, students, if you observe in the PBSA, the greatest advantage we have is we have to do repair and maintenance only once a year. When the students go for their semester vacation, we can do the repair and maintenance. But when it comes to this model, when one person vacates, again we have to do a repair and maintenance. Can I get a double Y in the chat box if you got that point of view clearly? Because every tenant has the possibility to leave anytime they want. And once they leave, it will become a bigger challenge for our business. So I'll write down here, students, the repair and maintenance can be another factor to be considered. In this model, there will be a situation where the company will have to make sure that they are repairing the rooms every time a person vacates. And the person can vacate anytime. Therefore, in that case, it can be a big challenge. Can I get a Y in the chat box, students, if you are fine with that? Are you okay with that, students? Are you clear with that? Now, these are common sense. Common sense. So this can be one factor to be considered, to be considered. And also insurance, can be a added value. Students, can I get that point also? Can insurance can be an added value? Can be an added value. Are you getting that point? So this is one factor to be considered also. So I believe this is very, 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 very clear for you all in this aspect of repair and maintenance, fixed employment versus the variable employment challenges, repair and maintenance cost. And the another one is students, unemployment challenges. Unemployment. Students, can unemployment be another challenge for this business? Frankly, yes. The reason is, students, now you observe this America, you see, now if you see, students, Twitter fired many people overnight, correct? And when people lose a job immediately, the biggest cost for a individual is rent. Then comes the food, then comes the transport. Correct, no, students? So when unemployment takes place in an industry, there will be a huge effect to our business also. Can I get a Y in the chat box if you are understanding that perspective of unemployment, students? Because unemployment, does it have a direct relationship to the business? Of course, right? Yeah. So I'll write down here the unemployment can be another challenge to be considered. Another challenge to be considered. Students, can I get a confirmation from you in the chat box? Since in tech sector plus professional working environment, there are chances that anytime working professionals can lose job. In that case, they can vacate the premises anytime. And therefore, this can be another challenge as well, since we may lose the revenue stream also. Full stop. Can I get that perspective also, students? I believe this is the biggest challenges associated with the cash flow factors that has been mentioned also. Now, another challenge I can also say is unrelated rivals. Now, in this case, on unrelated rivals, I can effectively write again private residences. Private residences can provide more flexibility as well, where the working professionals can have parties and bring people to stay as well, provided they pay the rent on time. In that case, this can also impact the revenue stream of our business. Stop. So students, are you okay with this, students? Just to give you an idea, this is the second variant. So the introductions are getting very, very clear. You only have two types of questions coming. One is a technical jargon question. One is a business-oriented question. When you go to the strategic case study, everything will be business. In OCS, everything was technical. In MCS, it is business, it is technical. But when it goes to SCS, pure business. So are you now understanding your role as a manager? You manage technical aspects also, you manage the business aspects also. So in a company, the toughest position is a middle manager. I believe everyone has got that clarity clearly. because the top manager always focuses on the strategy. The bottom manager always focuses on the technical operations, but the mid manager is the person who integrates the strategy to the lower level. So you are the person who is generally having the emotional and the technical challenge, which you have to structureize yourself. So a success of any organization is not the strategic level or the operational level, the middle level, how much they are good in connecting the visions to the lower level. If that is success, everything will be success. Students, one-to-one discussion. Mr. Badwell, any questions for the day? Miss Feroza, any questions for the day? Miss Petronella, any questions for the day? Mr. Srini, any questions for the day? Students, I am always available in WhatsApp. You can message me anytime. I will respond to you all also anytime, students. Students, keep your mind very much clean and clear. Definitely, you will do very well in the examinations also. So, students, if you're okay with all these things, can we end up the class for today? And thank you very much. Saturday, you will be having a mock test, students, which is you can do it on Sunday also or Monday also. A 3 hours examination. I will update that in our WhatsApp group in detail. And then I will cover up the technical classes as you want also. So students, can I get a confirmation? So everything is fine. See you on the next class, Thursday, students. Thank you very much for your presence on today's class. Take care, students. Good night, everyone.